رمضان رمضان شهر القرآن هدى لنا.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Ramadan Talks, where we're talking about topics inside and outside of Ramadan. Now, last time we spoke about the past and how advice can be filled with wisdom based on how you communicate it. But nowadays, it seems like a lot of people just aren't willing to accept advice. Dr. Slimi, how can we go about this?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself spoke about people who refused advice, and even they incurred the curse of Allah Almighty because of this unfortunately attitude of refusing advice from the good ones, the wise ones, the sages. لُعِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Allah Azza wa Jalla said those who disbelieved and rejected advice. And he mentioned the reason. They did not want to enjoy good among themselves and forbid evil. They did not accept someone to correct them. So, Max, there is a difference between criticism, advice, and judgment. And it depends on many things that come into play. Could be the context, the intention, the person giving you advice, the place, the way, all of these things. That's why we said wisdom is very key here, because wisdom as defined is to do the right thing at the right time, at the right place, in the right way. So all these four must come into play for something to be done with wisdom. And definitely advice has to be done with wisdom. An example, we say in Arabic, النصيحة في وسط الناس فضيحة. Giving advice in the crowd is a scandal. You don't give advice to someone in front of people. So people like that shouldn't give advice. The intent behind giving the advice, is it out of love, out of concern, out of care? So before you give advice, assure the person who is going to be, the object of your advice, that you really love them, that you really care for them, that you have their best interest in mind. Rather than focusing on the advice itself, build the bridge, then give the advice. It's like giving food without giving a plate.
Food without a plate. That's quite an image there.
You want to feed someone, but you can't feed them just throwing the food. You have to set the plate. So if I want to give you, imagine the advice I want to give you is the food, but I didn't set the plate or the table. Then the food wouldn't have relevance. And you wouldn't want, it's a matter of dignity, that I feed you like I feed a dog. And even a dog, in our religion, you're not supposed to throw food on the ground. You're supposed to put it on a plate and give it to an animal. That's for animal. So if a human being, you want to correct them, first and foremost, set the context of your advice. If it's something urgent, tell them why you're concerned. And what would you do if you were in my place? And what would I do if I were in your place? This amicable, kind approach would actually endear the person to listen. Like we said last time, the old man would not have listened to Hassan and Hussein, peace be upon them, if that elevation to the status of an uncle and that respect they showed him, that was the bridging, that was the plate. And then they gave the advice.
Now, some of our viewers, I'm sure as you're watching this, there's someone in your mind thinking about how can I give advice to so-and-so. Dr. Slimi, do you have an example perhaps of someone where an individual was a little rough around the edges and it was tough to get through to them?
The Prophet ﷺ did actually comment on people who were rough and were harsh. Even the Quran spoke to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. As we read the Quran in these nights and reflect, we have to take these wisdoms. The behavior of the Prophet ﷺ is a model behavior. And Allah said, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Had you acted in a harsh manner, and if you were harsh-hearted, they would have left you and gone. فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. So first, forgive them, not just judge. And seek Allah's forgiveness for them, and consult them before you give them this. And shawirhum, get them involved in decision making, even by giving an opinion. So when you build bridges, then you advise is taken with good heart. When there is the sense of mistrust, or especially amongst equals, let's say teenager advising each other or youth advising each other, but they would listen to mommy and daddy and uncle and a scholar and a teacher, because it's not like this. It's very important to establish the context for advice.
So building bridges instead of building walls all comes from a place of love. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Slimi, for that wonderful, wonderful reminder. For those of you tuning in, as always, we thank you. And these are the final 10 nights. Keep it going. Keep it going. Hit that subscribe button and leave those comments down below. It's a two-way street after all. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.